Unscripted. This is episode 8. I can't wait. I can't believe, Kellyanne, that we've been going for 8 weeks straight. I think we talk about this every time we go live, right?
I know. It's amazing that this idea has now we've done 2 whole months of this.
Our baby is 2 months old.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who has been tuning in every week. We really, really appreciate you being here. I thought I would just highlight before we get into today's episode, I wanted to highlight that because of the platform that we're using, and we want to be able to keep all of the comments so that we can see who's live with us. We want to try and have everyone tuning in moving forward every week through my Facebook page. So if you happen to be watching this on Kelly Ann's Facebook page tomorrow or the next day or whatever, I would encourage you to come on over. Feel free to friend me, or at least come over here on Tuesdays at 9:30 onto Kim Basler's personal Facebook page. And that's when we can see your comments. Like, we want to see who's here when you're tuning in. You can ask questions in here, and that way we can incorporate it into our podcast. So last week, and I'm going to turn on the captions feature so I can see who's here. So last week, or the chat rather, last week we started the conversation about taking radical responsibility for your life. And that's a really big conversation. And we're going to continue that today because ultimately, we never know who's watching this episode. We never know what's going on in your life. But I can promise you that there is not one single person in this world who will not experience something challenging, who will not have something difficult happen to them, or they've created something, they've wanted something to happen a certain way, and it didn't go the way they wanted it to. And we're all, that's the thing about being human, is nobody is going to be avoiding those sorts of situations. So we all have these things happen, but unfortunately, a lot of the time, because of, I've done a little bit of reading about this, when we consider ourselves a victim to our life, that we don't have any opportunity to change things, it avoids us from growing. It avoids us from finding solutions. And we're going to talk a lot about victim mentality today and how that relates to this conversation about taking radical responsibility for your life. So before I let Kellyanne pop in here, I want to say again, thank you for being here. Please type in the chat if you're here with us live. If you are tuning in with us live, let us know where you're coming in from. And if you're watching this as a replay, please write that in the comments as well, so that we can thank you for being here and being interested in what we have to share, and share it out to people if you would like to. How you doing, Kellyanne?
I'm great, Kim. Great to be here as always on a Tuesday morning.
Yes.
As Kim said, we are all at different places in our life. And wherever you are in your life, you are exactly where you are meant to be. And you may be going through challenges right now. Nobody is walking in your shoes. And when we share some of the things that we share, it is certainly only to kind of remind you of what is possible for you. It's never, we just want you to know that there's no judgment here. We have been walking this same journey that so many of you walk, that I believe we all walk. We all walk through challenges. We all walk through personal growth. And so when we do share things, we share them from a place of only what is possible, just to make you think a little bit differently. And because I know that was the catalyst for my life, is when I started to when I let go of the way I had been thinking that it was all the right thinking. And when I shifted to look at, maybe there's a different way of thinking about things. And so that's what we share with you, is maybe just a different perspective. And obviously, what is right for you. And so if you take something from our show, if you take something from the day after we have shared, that's a win. That's a win for us, for you. It's just a step in your growth. And so that's why we are doing what we're doing. And today, and radical responsibility, and certainly victim mentality or victim mindset, it's a challenging topic. And I can speak really well about being a victim because I spent a lot of my life being in that victim mindset. And if you find yourself there, we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like today. But if you find yourself there, then having an awareness of that is something to celebrate, because you cannot change anything until you are aware of it and accept that that is something that you want to change. So, I guess as somebody who has been there many, many years of my life, Kim, do you want me to go into a little bit about what it looks like?
Yeah,
Or
and I think that that's a really great place. I think maybe even what it looks like, but even that definition, and that might come into the signs of it. But I just want to like highlight, this concept of the way we're thinking, we think it's right. I'm honestly wondering how many of us actually think about the way we're thinking, right? Like we're just doing
no.
things so naturally, and the
Mhm.
way we think, the way we behave, the way we respond is often very much a part of what we've been taught, what we've seen, what we've modeled, right? So this is why we say this is about radical responsibility. We all have different upbringings. We all have different experiences that have happened to us. None of us are the same. But remember, we're here at this moment in Raw and Unscripted. We're talking about this is the way my life is right now. What you do have the responsibility is to know how you're going to change things for today, right? Like we're not going into the past. The past is a part of our story. And again, Kellyanne and I will always say, because we've learned this, is that everything that has happened to us has happened for us. It is a part of who we are. It has given us certain traits, empathy, ways of being. It's given us gifts. So we never want to negate what has happened to us, even if it has been challenging. But it's this moving forward. So yeah, Kellyanne, let's talk about that. Let's start talking about. I guess I would look at it as like, what is victim mentality? How do I know if I'm living with that type of mindset?
Mhm. And I think so much of victim mentality is based in lack. So it is not there's this not enoughness. There is a sense of not taking responsibility, of blaming other people. It's often related to trauma
Mhm.
or hurt or pain. And I want to just start out by saying that there is a time to live in that victimhood. There is a time when things happen, when bad things happen to you, and they will. When you've been hurt, when you're in a challenging situation, when you feel like out of control, something's happening in your life that is not in your control, it's okay to have those feelings, to be the victim. And it's okay to go through those times where you do feel sorry for yourself, and you are allowed to live in that, for sure. This is, this whole idea of toxic positivity, of, you should always feel great. That is not what we would ever advocate. You have to feel those feelings, and that's important. So to be in that, as things are happening in your life where you feel the victim, it's okay to be there. But there comes a time where if you choose to stay there, it can become a way of life.
Mhm.
So what we're talking about right now is when that being a victim has become your way of life. And as I say, been there. I've been there where, I didn't take responsibility. It was always everybody else's fault. And even if somebody, I always expected When you're a victim, when you're in that victim mindset, you're always expecting the worst. So you might say to yourself, well, I'll try and do this, but I know I'm going to fail anyways. Or somebody gives you suggestions of how you could maybe improve things, or helps you to, tries to help you to make you feel better about things, or to shift your mindset. And you find all the reasons why that isn't going to work. And I think we have all, sometimes it's easier to see it outside of yourself when you can talk to people. We all know people who spend their life in this kind of a mindset where there's nothing positive. There's always excuses. There's always blame. And you can often see that in some people. It's harder to see in yourself.
Yeah.
So as Kim said, when you are in that victim mindset, you very much feel like life is happening to you. You have no control. You have no choice. You have lost all your power.
Mhm.
Things can't change. That's how you feel.
Yeah. And such a beautiful explanation of that. And I want to add, and I'm just going to interject here for a second, and then you can continue. But we ask questions a certain way. Like there isn't like, we're not looking for solutions. We're not looking for other ways to look at things. As Kellyanne said, it's why. Why does this keep happening to me? Why do you keep doing this to me? That why question is what is a pretty good indicator. If you find yourself speaking, like listen to the way you speak, because as a very good friend of ours always says, if you keep asking the same questions, you're going to find the same answers, or potentially you won't even find the answers, right? You're going to stay in that. See, it's very, and I wanted to pop in for a second about some of the benefits, I'll use that in the quotations, of why the victim mentality actually works for us. But I feel like I interrupted you, and I want you to give the no, you're good.
Not at all, Kim. No.
Okay. Okay.
And I think you're exactly right. Like that victim mindset does have benefits for us.
Mhm.
And often that's why we find ourselves staying in it, because it's working for us.
Mhm. Mhm.
It allows you to make excuses for yourself. It often you get sympathy from other people. And that is serving you in some way. That is doing something for you. When somebody continues to maybe handle you with kid gloves, or expresses that sympathy and makes your life easier, tries to make your life easier because you are a victim, those things can be comforting for us, and they can keep us stuck there.
Yeah, and we're often doing it at an unconscious level, right? Like
Oh,
Kellyanne talked a lot about trauma, right? So if you are the person who, like, see, again, we have core needs as a human, and one of them is to be seen, to be loved, to be heard. But we sometimes will seek those things in whatever way we're going to get them. So if I constantly feel like everything is bad happening to me, and I talk to people about it, and I'm always sharing about all the terrible things that are happening to me, that person, because there are people out there that will continue to support you and pat you on the back and be there for you for your 10th call every day. Okay, I say that with love just because I know someone who's like this. But you're doing it because you are still getting something from them. You are still getting some type of support. You are getting some secondary gain from it. You are getting validation. You are being seen. We just don't know we're going about it that way. So again, this might be a conversation today that just gets you thinking. Like that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take the fog off of the lenses, right? If you've got some lenses on and you find yourself, because nobody wants to live in that energy. Like victim energy is not good energy, right, Kellyanne?
exactly. And the energy that you give off is the energy that's going to be attracted to you. What you put out to the world comes back to you. So when you are giving off that energy, and I mean, energy, whether you believe in it or not, energy is so palpable. You can walk into a room and you can feel the energy. You probably have certain people in your life who you feel their energy and it doesn't feel good. And often people who are in that victim mindset, it doesn't feel good to be around them. And when you look at yourself, when I really came to the realization that I was definitely being I was deep in that victim mindset, and I realized what I was putting out to the world, and I realized the people that I was attracting into my world, that's when I knew it was something that I really had to change. And it's not easy because, as you say, you get and I still find myself today. I mean, silly little things, like really silly little things. Like I, I can say, my husband can say to me, "You forgot to put the clothes in the dryer." And I'm like, "Well, you forgot to remind me." Like that is a victim. That's a victim mindset. That's not taking responsibility. It's such a stupid little thing, but I find myself in that. I have to catch myself because I do those kinds of things, those kinds of that blame.
And again, everyone, like, we share because we've experienced, and I would love for you, those of you that are tuning in live with us, or if you're catching it as a replay, I want you to think about your own life right now. And if we know we're always encouraging vulnerability. For those of you that are here with us, like, feel free to share in the comments, or even private message us something that you're experiencing in your life, because it's comfortable for us to say with what we know, even if it's painful or even if it feels miserable. But again, we're just shy of entering a brand new year. And if there's anything that we know, is you look around. I don't know about you, Kellyanne, but I do this a lot. Like, you feel the energy, and I'm never here to judge or to critique, but I observe people. I observe people in the way they handle standing in a line, things not going the way they want, somebody taking their parking spot, like how we behave in the world. And a lot of it has to do with what we think about and how we feel and how we act every single day, right? So this is about being able to say, like, if I want to get myself, like, maybe that's where we'll shift, just so that we can, start to think about the conversation now, because we always want to be solution focused in this podcast. Okay. So think about your own self right now. I'm thinking about, there's times like right now when it comes to challenging seasons in my life, it's always around business things right now for the most part. And what I always try to do is look at the way I'm approaching it and the questions that I'm asking myself. Because if I keep asking myself, like, if I stay in one lane and I only ask myself questions that are why based, or, I guess this isn't going to happen for me, I guess this is the way my life is always going to be. And I continually feel like I have to relive the things that have happened to me, and then they keep me feeling anger, and they keep me feeling blame, and I can't forgive people, and I keep rehashing. And we love to do that, right? We love to bring up things that people have done to us, and then we want to bring it back again. Well, you did this, and that's why I'm this way. And again, we are the only person you are responsible for is yourself. As much as we always want to change other people, we cannot help someone see things differently. That's their own journey. The only person that you are responsible is for you. And with that means, some of the things we've talked about is finding ways to shift your life and see things differently. And that's really the best way to start, is to recognize what's your role here.
Right. And there are some things you can do to shift that. And one of the things, as we talk about, I think, every episode, is awareness. So it's just being aware that, okay, maybe this is something I need to look at in my life. Maybe I do have some of that victim mindset. And at the end, I want to talk a little bit about the opposite of that victim mindset. But some of the things that you can do if you are ready to make a shift, or if you want to, if you're curious about a shift, is sometimes, because I did say that a lot of this can be trauma based, sometimes you need to seek out a professional to process the trauma, because maybe you haven't processed it yet. Um, I know for me, it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I actually processed the trauma. I didn't even know that I needed to do that. So it came much later for me. The other thing, and you mentioned it, Kim, is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be forgiveness for yourself and forgiveness for others. I think one of the things that you can also do is journaling to release some of those feelings, some of um, those victim feelings, because I think when you get them down on paper, they're maybe less likely to come from your mouth and to come from your heart. The other thing that is so big is gratitude, because when you are in that victim mindset, you are focusing on all the lack. You're focusing on all the things that are not working. When you can make that shift to gratitude, to being in the state of grateful for the things that you have in your life, because we all have them, no matter what we are going through, we all have things to be grateful for. And that gratitude, it emits a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be grateful and anxious at the same time. You can't be grateful and angry at the same time. You can't do it. So focusing more on your gratitude when you're feeling maybe like the victim, when you feel like you want to complain, when you feel like you want to blame somebody, if you can make that shift to think about something that you are grateful for. And the other thing that I am reading right now, rereading, is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and the power of being in the present moment. Because, there you go.
That was very conveniently placed right behind me.
You know, I was going to talk about that. But that's a book that I read many years ago, but I'm revisiting it now. And when you are living in the present moment, you cannot be a victim, because you're not focusing on the past. So much of being a victim is focusing on the past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a question in here, and I send love to the person who's wrote this in here. When there is challenging, horrible things happening around the Christmas season, right? And I just know that there is a lot of things that are happening to people right now that feel horrible. And I find it's difficult right now around the Christmas season because there is so much joy and happiness, and everybody's, all the commercialism around the Christmas season. But when you yourself are experiencing challenging seasons around the holiday season, again, as Kellyanne mentioned, like so many of us, we haven't been taught how to allow ourselves to feel, right? So the feeling and the expressing, because sometimes we can find blame in other things because we just aren't allowing ourselves to feel the sadness. It's way easier for me to blame other people than for me to feel sadness if I feel like there's something wrong with crying, for example. But what I would say to anybody right now, again, even if you're experiencing a really difficult season, maybe you've lost someone, maybe somebody is sick right now who's just been diagnosed with something, remember this piece of gratitude that Kellyanne said. It's not to say that you can't still feel sadness and anger and for the things that have happened, but it's still recognizing what I do have. So I still do have people who love me. I still have people who will support me. Like that is so key. And I would say right now, your energy is super important, right? When you're so vulnerable and you're feeling so many allowable emotions, is to really become hyper protective. I did speak with somebody. I sent them a private message about this. And I said, right now, you need to protect yourself from everything that is causing you to feel more additional pain, right? This is radical responsibility for ourselves, right? So again, be there for people, support them, but help them. We're not telling them that they're not allowed to feel sadness or anger. We're not saying that, but still let them see what they do have. Because again, our minds are wired to see what we don't have. But there is still a lot around us. Even on painful days, there are still things that can help us shift our perspective while we allow ourselves to process and grieve whatever it is that we're experiencing. Yeah, victim mentality is like, there's a lot around this topic, right? So we're just trying to touch a little bit on everything here.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, when you talk about what the opposite of that whole victim mindset is, and I call it a creator mindset. I think that when you and I always talk about having, when you, as we've said, you can only control you, but you can have a ripple effect on other people. So when you choose to live in a way of creator versus victim, people feel that around you. And that, one of the things that, a creator does is that they do accept responsibility for themselves. They are willing to try something new with the fear, or without the fear of this isn't going to work. They look at possibilities. It's more, when you are a creator, you are more rooted in abundance, that good things are going to happen for you, that life is happening for you. Creators seek solutions. Mm-hmm. And they don't see things, problems, as permanent. Sometimes in that victim state, you can feel like this problem is permanent. I will never, you've heard people say it. I said it, I will never be able to get out of this. Mm-hmm. But as a creator, when you can see, one of the universal laws is the law of rhythm, that everything has a rhythm, everything has a season, and it will not always be like this. Yeah. And when you can live by those principles, then those hard times, you know that something good is coming, which gives you hope. And that's what life is all about, is having hope.
That's one of my favorite rhythms. I'm really learning a lot about universal laws right now. And it was you, Kellyanne, that told me about this law of rhythm, right? These seasons. So I want everyone to think about that if we think about the seasons, right? Summer, spring, I think about winter, spring, summer, and fall, right? Or autumn, right? So we're not always meant to be blooming. We're not always meant to be shining. There are seasons of winter, time for stepping back, being with yourself, difficult seasons. We think about harvesting of the fall, right? So when somebody else is blooming and you're feeling like, why are they always, they're not, right? We can feel like somebody never has anything that's challenging for them. We all do. Nobody is without this. But as that rhythm says, is that this will not happen forever. That's the first thing. But I think the other key take, and this is hard for people, this is a stretch for people, myself included, and I know for you too, is to know that this is happening because something greater is on the other side of it. Something greater is on the other side. That gives me such hope, right? Like, even in the things that I can perceive to be the most challenging things in my life, is to know that this is happening for me to give me skills, to help me learn, to help me have empathy for somebody else. If you've lost someone and you're going through that grieving season, somebody else has gone through that grieving season too. And they're able to now help you because of that. You see what we're trying to say is that there's growth that comes from these difficult times, and to look for a different perspective, to take the lens, to take off your, we don't have to have rose-colored glasses all the time, as that expression is. But we got to be willing to take our glasses off and look at something from another perspective. And that's the whole purpose of today's conversation. And I thank everyone so much for tuning in and for the comments that are coming in here. This is about growth. Nobody's asking anybody to fix this overnight. This is, again, we think about compassion, we think about forgiveness. that means that every time I find myself in a victim mentality, lashing out on somebody else, if I have the awareness to say, I did this to you and that wasn't fair, that means then, with having responsibility for my life, that I can go and say, I'm so sorry that I did that to you. Like, this is how we heal as humans. This is how we shift the way we connect and interact with people. And this
And
is what
all, oh,
changes things. Yeah. No, you're fine.
all those little things, those are the pieces, those are the steps to your growth. So celebrate those little things, those little bits of awareness, those that that time where you can go and say sorry where you never used to be able to, or where you can forgive somebody or start to think about forgiving somebody. Those are all little steps on the journey that become your transformation. Your transformation to become the person that you want to be, it doesn't happen overnight. We are all at the perfect place right now for you, and the things that have happened in your life, when you can look at them and see, as Kim said, that they have been gifts, even though at the time you can't see that they're gifts. But when you look back and you can see that they have been gifts, they have brought something into your life that wasn't there before. When you can, those steps on the journey become your transformation. It's not something that is going to be overnight. It's something that it's a daily practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we do every day. And every day we're challenged to be a little bit better than the day before.
Well, this is a good question that maybe we can leave everyone that's listening to this right now. This was asked of me, and it's been asked of me a few times, is to look at something from your past that looked like the most difficult, challenging event, season, experience, occurrence that you never thought you'd be able to recover from. It is the thing that took you to your knees. It is the thing that caused you to isolate yourself from people. It is deep pain, deep hurt. I want you to, we want to look at something from our past that we have grown through, something that we can look at it from a different perspective. And that's what I'd love to encourage the audience right now to do that. I can think about the season of life where I left my career as I knew it to be and felt like the deepest failure. I isolated myself. I stayed inside. I was in pain. And now, being removed from that, I can now look at that and go, that was a season of growth. That was a pivotal opportunity for me to be doing the work that I'm doing now. And that's what we want to ask you. Because the perspective, we have to remove ourselves when we're in it, like when we're in the thick of it, we can't often see things because pain is a real feeling, right? But we are asking, that's why gratitude, like Kellyanne said, that's why that helps to let you see things a different way. That is the silver lining of things that we're talking about. So do that for yourself, because again, it's from our past. It was a season, but we grew through it. And it was a difficult season, and we're still here. Like, we're still here. That speaks about our strength and our resilience as humans. And I just think that sometimes we lose that perspective, right? We forget about things from our past that we were able to overcome.
Exactly. We need to celebrate we don't celebrate ourselves enough. So we need to celebrate all the things that we have walked through, all of the growth that we, it's like, we could have a whole session about this, the gap and the gain. It's standing in the gains of your life instead of the places where you still feel gaps. Yeah, we can do a whole show about the gaps and the gains, right, Kim?
Yeah. We are not going backwards, my friends. Okay.
No.
Be in this moment. Like, look down at yourself, feel your heart beating, breathe, be in this moment. Look for things around you. Do this right now. Like, look for things around you. I can look outside my window today and see sunshine. I can look outside my window and see the things that are happening for me in the rest of the day. Like, and that's why we don't have to think big. We have to look for the things that are unique to us, beyond the hot cup of coffee, beyond the hot water. right? I really want you to look at your own life and really look at the gifts that you have in it. The fact that you're here with us right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many of us have these relationships with people online that we've never physically met. And it's through our challenges and our seasons that we've been brought together. Those are the gifts that come from these difficult seasons that we go through. And we're not alone. We've got so much help around us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess we have come to the end of our time, and we don't really know what's on store or in store for you next week. But it will be something to make you think. And that's what we hope we always do, is that we just challenge you to think a little bit differently. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to all the people who have commented. We love having you here with us as we chat. And we want to, the one thing that when you go to our YouTube channel, if any of you have gone back to re-listen to old, or encourage somebody else to listen to old episodes, you will find those in a different place now. They are under the live button. So when you go to our channel, you'll only see 4, I believe it's 4 episodes. The other ones are hiding under the live section. So if you want to share those out to other people, to somebody who you think might really appreciate what we talked about today, that's where you'll find those things. So thank you again for your presence here, and we're excited to continue this journey with you, because we feel like that's what it is. It's a journey for all of us, and it's never been meant. You're not meant to do this alone. You're meant to do this with people beside you, and that's what we're here for.
Exactly. So if you want to hear more from us, we come in here once a week, but if you want to hear from more from us, come on over, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Kim Basler _food freedom. I love to share a lot of myself over there, and on Facebook. I encourage you also to check out my website, which is brand new. I talked about that last week. I have a brand new website that I've launched, kimbasler.com, and feel free to join in and get some of my content and communication that I send out on a weekly basis. I'd love to have you in there. Kellyanne, where can they find you?
Yeah, and I share a lot. Kim and I both share almost every day, and we there's lots of great tidbits of our experiences and some of our learnings and some of our wisdom on both of our pages. So you can follow me on Instagram, Appleton Kellyanne, and on Facebook, Kellyanne Appleton. I'm also on TikTok, but I don't know my handle.
So am I. All the things, Kellyanne, all the things.
Yeah, that's kind of new to me. So
did you ever think that you'd be on TikTok, my friend?
Never in my wildest dreams. So it shocks me every time I go there, and I think, what am I doing on TikTok?
Yeah, what you're doing. We know what you're doing, right? We know what you're doing. Listen, if there's anything that you can take from two incredibly beautiful, wise, mature women, is that you can do anything with your life at any stage of your life. Yeah. What you have to do is be willing to live outside your comfort zone, which we do every single day, right?
Exactly.
We talked about that on the weekend,
yes.
right? And this is why I'm going to just do a shout out to you, Kellyanne. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for doing this with me. And I appreciate you and your vulnerability every day. So grateful for you.
And I am so grateful that you have come into my life, Kim. It hasn't been that long. I feel like I've known you a lot longer than I have, but I believe that we attract people into our lives who are meant to be there. And I know I've attracted you into mine.
Thank you for that. Thank you. All right, friends, that's the end of episode 8, Raw and Unscripted. Thank you for being here live with us. Thank you for tuning in as a replay. And again, share this with somebody. And we will see you next week on the next episode. If you have anything that you'd like us to talk about, anything that you want support on, feel free to drop it in the comments or send us a private message. And this podcast is for you. It's as much for us as it is for you. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Have a great day,
everyone. See you soon.